What is up, YouTube? It's VyPr Sports here, and today I'm going to be talking about the 2019 NBA Draft. The draft was last night, and in this video, I'm going to be talking about the winners and losers of the 2019 NBA Draft. So without further ado, let's get started with the winners. To me, the biggest winners of the 2019 NBA Draft were the New Orleans Pelicans and the Atlanta Hawks. The New Orleans Pelicans obviously got Zion Williamson with the number 1 pick, which I thought was great, but also were able to get more as a result of trading the number 4 pick, which they landed in the Anthony Davis deal alongside Lonzo Ball, Brandon Ingram, and Josh Hart, among other picks. They turned the 4th pick into the 8th pick and the 17th pick, along with the 35th pick in the second round. But really what they were able to do with those 2 first-round picks that they got in addition to Zion Williamson is great. They drafted Jackson Hayes out of Texas with the 8th pick, which I think was a really good move. Now center, which once was their biggest weakness on the team, I guess you could say, really isn't as much of one anymore, and they're able to get Nickeil Alexander-Walker with the 17th pick as well. As a whole, this was a great draft for the New Orleans Pelicans. It started off with Zion Williamson and got better from there in terms of depth and what they can add to this team. Pelicans right now may not be the best team, but give this young core a few years and they could turn out to be something pretty good. The other big winner of the 2019 NBA Draft was the Atlanta Hawks. The Hawks had the 8th, 10th, and 17th picks, but they traded the 8th and 17th picks to the New Orleans Pelicans for the 4th pick, which they used to draft DeAndre Hunter out of Virginia. Personally, I like this fit. I think he could play really well alongside Trae Young and John Collins, but also they had the 10th pick, which they used to draft Cam Reddish out of Duke. Now, Reddish was pretty good at Duke. He was put aside and had to share the spotlight with Zion Williamson and RJ Barrett, 2 of the best players in college basketball last year. And really, I like what he could bring to the Atlanta Hawks. It's not really the riskiest decision drafting him at 10. I think he has the chance to develop in an environment where the focus really isn't on him. Everyone is going to be focused on Trae Young and John Collins and what they're able to do. Aside from what Cam Reddish can do, I think he could potentially turn into something very good. At bare minimum, he'll be a good role player for the Atlanta Hawks, and with the 10th pick, that isn't necessarily the best value, but I really do trust what the Hawks general manager has done in the past. I think he'll continue making great moves like this well into the future. Now, another big winner in this draft was the Chicago Bulls, who drafted Coby White with the 7th overall pick. Now, Coby White is a very good guard out of North Carolina, and the Bulls really needed a point guard. So I think this was a great move. It wasn't necessarily what I expected would happen once the Timberwolves traded up to the 6th pick, but for the Bulls, they should be very glad they were able to get Coby White. Now on to some of the losers of the 2019 NBA Draft. And the first one, I don't necessarily know if I'm going to consider them completely a loser, but they could have done better, and that team is the Cleveland Cavaliers, who drafted Darius Garland with the 5th overall pick in the draft. Now, Darius Garland is a great player. He has tremendous upside, and while he does have some injury risk, you can't let that completely control your decision with a prospect, unless it is something insanely serious. And I don't think they should have done this with Garland. They didn't do it, they drafted him with the 5th pick, and I like Darius Garland, I just don't know how well he's going to fit alongside Colin Sexton, another good point guard. And while yes, some teams have decided to run 2 point guard lineups and have had success with it, most notably Kyle Lowry and Fred VanVleet of the Toronto Raptors this entire postseason, I don't necessarily know how well it's going to work in Cleveland, if it's going to work in Cleveland. I think the Cavs definitely had the opportunity to take a player who may have fit their starting 5 better in Jarrett Culver, or they could have entertained trading the pick. I don't necessarily know if that was something they thought to be on the table, but I definitely think there were some teams who were willing to trade up, and that should have been a possibility for the Cleveland Cavaliers. I wish Darius Garland nothing but success in his NBA career, but I don't necessarily know how much I like this pick for the Cleveland Cavaliers. Now, the big loser of the 2019 NBA Draft was the Phoenix Suns, and they just made some really questionable moves that I don't understand. First, they traded TJ Warren to the Indiana Pacers, which, not completely surprising because they do have some good small forwards and just wing players in general, but it really wasn't that great of a move for them. In addition, they traded down from the 6th pick to the 11th pick and got Dario Saric in return from the Minnesota Timberwolves along with it. And really, I don't understand why they did this. With the 6th pick, they could have drafted Kobe White out of North Carolina. The Suns truly need a point guard. That is the main need for this team. And while, yes, they did end up drafting a guard, and they got a good player in Dario Saric, who can definitely play a role in this starting five and the young core that they have going, I don't necessarily know if this was the best decision for them to make. They needed a point guard, and now it really seems like they're going to be relying on free agency for that. Whether or not they're going to be involved in D'Angelo Russell's restricted free agency, I don't know. Or whether they're going to try to get a veteran who doesn't necessarily fit their timeline right now. Someone like Patrick Beverley or Ricky Rubio. I don't even know if these players would be interested in playing in Phoenix. But the Suns still have a big question at point guard. And that's what they should have been trying to solve this draft, and they definitely could have done a lot better with it. So those are my thoughts on the 2019 NBA draft. And now, I want to hear what you guys think. Who did your team draft, and do you like the pick? What do you think of it? Please leave your thoughts in the comment section below. Please like this video if you enjoyed, and consider subscribing if you're new. This has been VyPr Sports, and I will see you in the next video.